Hello and welcome to the new latest frog tip regarding the hop-up for the MWS GBBR. Yeah! In this video I'll try to keep it short. I will explain how to choose the proper hop-up for actually not only the MWS but also for WE GBBRs. Okay? So for this I will have to do some small demonstration, and I'm gonna demonstrate it on, this is the GMWS N4 Noveski, a new series with this black bolt carrier. So what I need this gun for is because I will go over the types of hop-up rubbers you can find, let's say, for the GBBRs, but not from like manufacturer point of view, but what's inside of that rubber or the backing. And then I will show in the MWS and explain in the WE what do you need to do in order to make this particular type of hop-up work. And the best way to explain it is actually to have a look on a cross-section of few hop-up backings. So I have those three types which I will categorize, let's say, all backings into. There is one without the ribs, this is an example, one with the rib, and one with double rib. Yeah, we'll have a look into more detail and I'll explain, let's say, the origin and what function those ribs have. And based on this you can understand which one is the best for your MWS. So originally, long time ago, those backings, they did not have big patches like you see in those two. This is an original VFC backing and this is the X-Range modified backing. This is actually an old Falcon backing. You see that there was a single bump, yeah, and the single bump had to apply a lot of force to the BB to spin it, yeah. Basically, the more it went down, the more it spun the BB, everything was beautiful. Then there came the flat hop and different mods for the hop up, but also the R hop, so a ready backing with already bigger patch in the backing as much as the barrel allows for it, which spins the BB a little better. However, what happened with this change is that now let's say the total spin for the BB stays the same because the weight of the BB would be comparable between the setups, yeah, but it's applied in a longer path, yeah, along this whole patch. This improves the way how the gun shoots. It's more accurate, obviously. You can imagine it's like better stabilization in longer barrel than the short barrel, yeah. So here the same. Here the BB had to be very quickly spinned, while here it's spinning, you know, it's getting that spin on a longer path, so it's more stable and less chance that accidentally something will go out of the axis or something and spin it incorrectly. And this is just another one with this bigger air hop patch type. So why I'm explaining this? Because this type of backings that are hop come with a big flaw for the GBBRs. And of course there are also backings without the rib for the GBBRs with the R-hop patch, like a whole huge series of maple leaves. I just don't have any to cut open to show you. This is actually a stock backing from the EMG. It also have no rib and has the patch like the R-hop patch. What is the problem? The problem is that with GBBRs the BB is extracted from the magazine, it gets a hit from a very strong recoil and this forward stroke on the bolt carrier, yeah, so it has a lot of energy and basically it is pushed into the backing and it doesn't stop in one place in this type of the backing. So you can imagine if this BB is entering the backing, there is nothing to stop it unless it gets to this patch. And in the old type like this one, this patch or this bump was very low in the backing, so it always had the BB like hold it, yeah, it always caught it. But when the force applied by these flat patches is smaller, the position of the BB is random, because sometimes it stops, you know, in the middle of the patch and it will get less hop, sometimes it stops at the beginning of the patch. This is the biggest issue GBBRs have with the hop up. If you have inconsistent hop up and you check the muzzle energy that is constant, then 95% chance that your issue is in that fact that BB doesn't stop in the same place after each, let's say, reload when the gun reloads itself. Also, what could occur is that, for example, if I drop the BB into this backing, you see it fell completely through, yeah? So sometimes it happens that the gun reloads and you can observe that the BB falls out of barrel, or you tilt the gun barrel down and the BB falls out, yeah? This means that it's not held properly in the chamber, and that's your issue. Explaining all this, now to the point. There are those three types of the backings dedicated to three different setups to hold the BB, yeah? The first one, when you have the patch like in the maple leaf, not necessarily this kind of bump, you want the BB to stop where the patch starts, so let's say like right here. And in MWS, this is the way how they construct it. The same goes for WE, although stock barrel in WE is different than, let's say, standard for this GBBR hop-ups, yeah, or backings. You need to replace both the barrel and the backing to make it fit, yeah? But generally that's the idea. So the nozzle will have the length to push the BB till that patch, and the idea is that the BB stays there, yeah? The issue is, as I said, as these patches are now long, the retention force from the patch could be small and it could just push the BB through and cause the issues I explained. So this is, let's say, first idea, and this is used in MWS. Actually, if you look on the bolt carrier, I will show it in a moment. If you look on the bolt carrier from MWS, you will see that it has everything on springs to mitigate that heat, so that the BB loses with the bolt carrier, loses the energy, and it's not pushed so hard into the barrel, yeah? And this is also the setup for, I believe, most popular backings like maple leaf. This is exactly how they are designed. Now, the second idea, so a single rib backing, yeah? The idea is that the BB stops on that rib because the nozzle is not able to push it any further, yeah? But the BB can fall out. So if you pull the bolt carrier to the rear, there is nothing to retain the BB and it can roll out to the back, yeah? But also, this is not so precise because you have only the limitation how much the BB should go in, and if you have some clearance, always some tolerances, so the BB could be a bit before the rib, at the rib, yeah, depending on the gun. This is how VFC and GHK is done, yeah. They have these kind of backings in stock. They work very well for VFC 7.62 mm rifles, for example, and the idea is that this rib here, where the backing is thicker, this rib will block the BB before it goes on, yeah? And this way you can have very low hop on the patch and the BB will not be pushed through, and with each shot it will get the same amount of spin, yeah? For example, if I throw the BB into the backing right now, here you see it stayed, because that rib holds it, yeah? If I rotate it this way, you see it falls out, because there is nothing to hold it in the other direction. And now we get to my favorite backing. This is the Modify X range, and you see it has double rib. Here the idea is that they took this rib design like GHK and VFC uses, and they added a second rib. So now the BB should stay precisely between the first and the second rib. Yeah, I can put here the barrel, but I guess it's easy to imagine. So here the BB should stay perfectly in between those ribs. And when it stays between the ribs, it cannot move either forward or backward. It's always in perfect position. That's the reason why I like X range so much, yeah? So if I throw in the BB here, it stops on the first rib, but if I push it so that, you know, it gets to this position between the ribs, it doesn't fall in, and obviously it doesn't fall out, yeah? It retains perfect position because there is one rib on the barrel side and one rib on the bolt carrier side. So you can ask now, okay, Frog, so how does it help me to tune my MWS, right? And the answer is pretty easy, because most of the MWSs, especially these cheap ones, yeah, the Marui had quite a good backing working in stock. They have this type of backing. As I said, this is actually taken out of the gun I showed a moment ago, but doesn't retain the BB at all. So you get very random trajectory of hop up, or like spinning the BB. The spin is very, very random. Why? Because as I explained, there is nothing in this backing that would guarantee you that every shot you take, the BB starts from the same position, yeah? So the position is random, spin is random. If you want, you can either use, for example, maple leaf, or like there are many manufacturers, but generally this design without a rib, that's fine for the MWS, but you need a really good retention on the patch. So for example, you might need to go for heavier BB so that you need more hop up, and this will not fix the trajectory because the BB is heavier, but because it requires more hop, and this hop now is able to retain that BB in always the same position, yeah? The nozzle pushes it so far under the patch and it always stays there because the retention from that patch is big enough to hold it, yeah? And I don't really like this because it's kind of playing with parameters. It ends up different for different guns because, you know, the tolerances and stuff, these are toys after all. And for me it's like really annoying. I want one setup that always works, yeah? But you can also say that Maple Leaf, for example, they have this steel collar that holds the backing around. Does it help? It doesn't in most of the guns because the collar is in the thick part of the backing, so not where the BB should be retained in the first place. So the nozzle will go into the backing and the nozzle will be held stronger, let's say. Like, you know, the nozzle will go into this thick piece of the rubber and will stay there. But the BB anyway can be pushed through because the steel ring that they put on the backings is not in the place where BB should be retained, it's in the place where the nozzle is retained, yeah? So, I don't really like them, up to you, yeah? If you want, you can experiment, you can make it work. What I like are these backings with the rib, and in my opinion, both VFC and X-Range work just fine, yeah? There are more manufacturers with the rib. The stock GHK also has the rib. It's, you know, long discussion which one is the best. But what's important here, because it has this rib, the MWS, when the nozzle goes in, it will want to push the BB under the patch, like it wanted in this type of backing without the rib. And what will happen, obviously, it will strip this rib sooner or later, and depending on the tolerances and everything, it can be extremely quick, yeah? So you can take like 100 shots and the backing can be destroyed. So in this case, if you use the single rib or the double rib design, you basically need to cut off a piece of the nozzle. So you can see how the nozzle looks on the MWS system, right? It has this chamfer, it's quite long. Actually, it's sharp here on top, which also is bad for the hop-up backing. And you can imagine that the nozzle right now would push the BB into this far forward position where it would be just under the patch. In practice, it's almost touching to the barrel. Yeah, if you look into the assembly, it would be this kind of alignment, but it's hard to, you know, show everything on the camera here, so I won't do it. And here, you can imagine if I put it closer, if I push this nozzle so far, you see it goes through the ribs and it will strip them. To make these kind of backings work for MWS, you basically need to cut off a part of the nozzle, and it's regardless of the type. If this 2-rib or single rib, you need to cut this short 2.5 millimeters, yeah, like 2.5 millimeters shorter than it is, because finally the position in both these backings is the same, yeah? It's only that this one also have the retention against BB falling back and this one doesn't, but the rib to protect it against going into the chamber and this random hop-up is in the same position, so it's fine for both these types. Therefore, again, if you want to go for some Maple Leaf or something without the rib, you can just use the stock nozzle, everything will be fine, but you must make sure that the retention is good on the patch, and when you don't have it, you probably will increase the hop. More hop requires heavy BB to behave the same as the lighter BB, or you can just jump to the 1 or 2 rib design and have the nozzle cut short. Okay, that's all the theory. Now let's cut it and I will show you the effect. Just take the knife, just cut it off, file it off, what you prefer. Just make sure not to leave sharp edges. So add some chamfers around and also inside of the nozzle and it will be just fine. And here I have my shortened nozzle, so you see there is no chamfer anymore, and actually it's shorter than this pusher for the BBs on the bottom, yeah? So normally if you measure from the crown of that lug part, it is like 5 millimeters, so I cut 2.5 millimeters and it's half shorter. Be careful though, because obviously this springs back, yeah? So you don't want to measure differently depending on its position. Polished, added nice round edge with some sandpaper, and that's it. So this you need to do to use the rib or double rib safely in the MWS. I will throw it now inside the gun. Alright, we'll throw it now inside to the gun. And to demonstrate you, I have a BB in my magazine. Okay, it goes in and I do the reload. Of course, this will be different, a bit different when you charge it by shooting or by hand, yeah, because I don't compress the buffer when I'm charging by hand, but it will show you the idea. So here we go. If I pull the bolt to the back now, it will lock on the magazine, yeah, empty. So if I put here some light, you see the BB is in that perfect position inside of the hop-up chamber. So this is the explanation for the MWS and how to use those kinds of backings, yeah. The first type, to summarize, the maple leaf type, no ribs, the retention purely on the patch, so you need probably a lot of hop to hold it in place. Second one rib, then you need to shorten the nozzle, and 2 rib you need to shorten the same amount because the BB has the same position, but generally the backing handles this by the ribs to retain the BB, not necessarily under the patch, so you can basically use whatever you want with those backings. So I have 2 WE nozzles, on the left side the stock nozzle, and on the right side there is a modified nozzle. Actually it's damaged here on the bottom, but generally the point here is identical to the one in the MWS. For the same reason you might need to cut off the tip of the nozzle. If I bring it close to the camera, you see there is this like chamfer here and a different diameter starting here on the nozzle, while on the shorter one is this is removed because I did it manually, yeah. So here it's a little better because the diameter is reduced, so it's not so aggressive against those ribs in the backing, but anyway it pushes through them and they are rendered like unfunctional. So you want to always make it flat, and here the dimension is different because basically you need to cut off this chamfered smaller diameter area. So you see where it ends and you just can cut just like there, obviously carefully make it nice, flush, sand it and so on, so that it doesn't have any sharp edges or corners. So this is what you need to do in the WE. And maybe actually if you even buy a nozzle that is not WE, but for example Angry Gun or Arraytech, you would see they are already this type, like my modification on the right side, not the one on the left side, yeah, they already come cut. Okay, and that was all for this episode of Frog Tips. It was supposed to be quick, maybe it wasn't so quick as I wanted, but anyway, I hope this helps you. I hope you liked the video, let me know in the comments, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be sure not to miss the next episodes with other cool stuff like this, conversions and many more. Yeah, so may the power of GBBR be with you.